good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Hope you're having a blissful existence. I'm sending you guys so much love, gratitude, peace, and harmony. In this video, we're going to talk about having childlike energy. And I'm going to start off with a little bit of not a story per se, or maybe a little story, which inspired me to make this video. And that is, a couple of days ago, we had some guests over here. They were visiting Miranda's grandma, right? This is grandma's house right there. And they had two little girls. One was 5 years old and one was 10 years old. So we came and said hello, and then we came back into the house, and the children were kind of trying to get our attention, right? So they circled around the house trying to get our attention, but we didn't really see them or particularly give them the attention. Then they came into the house, and they just came in, but they were too shy to speak to us. So they came in and they came out. They came in and they came out. Then their mom came in and said, the kids want to show you guys some gymnastics moves. So we came outside the house, right there, and they showed us some impressive gymnastics moves. And we sort of got this like very positive vibe going. It's, high energetic, high vibrational atmosphere, right? The kids were playing, they were doing their gymnastics. I showed them handstands and just like, basic, like, what do you call it? Just basic gymnastics moves, because I used to do gymnastics also. And it was really nice. It was really, really just very positive, very playful atmosphere. Then the older girl, the 10-year-old, came inside the house and sat down casually with us, like she knew us forever. So that was really very uplifting to see how to observe children, to see how children act or perhaps not act, and how authentic they are. Because as we become adults, then we start to act and our energy goes down. And I'll speak about the energy because I want to focus on that. We did some reflections on this. I went back to my childhood. Miranda went back to her childhood. And, speaking for me, I had tremendous amounts of energy. Up until about I was 10 years old, then my energy began to wear off and I started to get chubby and I started to want to spend more time at home and play video games. But up to about 10 years old or so, I had an abundance of energy as a child. And I remember whenever I wanted to review something for my test, if I had a test the next day, my mom would review the material with me and I'd be jumping up and down like this because I had so much energy. I couldn't just sit still. I couldn't just sit down. Right about 10, then, the energy began to go down. I started to get chubby. And we did some reflections on that. Miranda said the same thing. She was a very, very, very energetic child. And we were able to see this in the kids, in the two girls. One was 5 years old. The other was 10. The 5-year-old, you can feel had, more energy. And I'll tell you in a second why. So basically, children have a very strong connection to source energy. But as they get older, that connection weakens and weakens and weakens and weakens and weakens until depression hits, anxiety hits, disease hits, and ultimately death hits at an early age. If you're dying anywhere before, if you're dying and you're under 100, which is like basically all of humanity, that's nothing, man. That's nothing. That's nothing, okay? So children start off with a very strong connection to source energy. Now, source energy is just infinite energy. It's abundant energy. So kids start off at that, and they grow older and older and older. And as they grow older, less and less do they have the energy. Their energy begins to be drained. So if you observe kids between the ages of 4 and 6, you'll see that they're more energetic, There's more vitality, more energy beaming out of them. You'll see them jumping all over the place and talking and right? Versus observe children between age 10 and 12, big difference, big difference. And then you observe kids between age 10 and 12, and then between 14 and 16, and you'll see that the ones between 14 and 16 have even less energy. They're more in an energy depleted state than the ones that are between 10 and 12. So what's going on here? What's going on here is human beings in their natural state have very strong connection to source energy. But because of this socioeconomic matrix, because the architects of this socioeconomic matrix, call them the cabal, call them the Illuminati, call them the reptilian overlords, because they constructed the matrix in such a way, it is constructed to deplete the energy field of the human, because these people understand how powerful human beings are, how strong their connection is to source energy, and they don't want that because their agenda is to enslave all of humanity, and you cannot enslave humanity if they are in strong connection with the source energy. You cannot enslave humans if they are in a high vibrational state. That's just not possible. You need humans who are in an energy depleted state, in a compromised state, in a needy state, in a dependent state. See, the socioeconomic matrix runs on dependency. It creates the illusion that you need things, and it creates the illusion that you are dependent. You're a dependent individual, you're an independent being, when in reality you're self-reliant and you have so much energy, like ridiculous amounts of it. Not hard to see. You can observe children particularly between ages 4 and 8, and just look at how much energy they have. But it starts to get less and less and less and less because of the foods, because of the drugs. This is why they want to get everybody on on Adderall, so they want to create these illusionary diseases like ADHD, for instance. You have attention disorder, here are some pills that'll numb you down, right? Antidepressants, etc., etc., etc. So you've got pharmaceutical drugs, you've got the food drug, the food supply, the water supply, the fluoride and all the chemicals in the water. The food supply is compromised, the water supply is compromised. You've got all these pharmaceutical drugs. My father is a medical doctor. I grew up swallowing pills like it's candy. Like every day, if I had a headache, I'd take something almost every day actually. My nose was clogged growing up. It started happening actually, maybe when I was 9, 10, 11, something like that. I started to have chronic nasal congestion because of the dairy that I was eating, and because of all these things that I was exposed to, and all these like pharmaceuticals that I was taking. So every day I'd put a nasal congestion, the nasal congestion drops in my nose, right? And had all kinds of issues because I was swallowing pharmaceutical pills like crazy. Whenever I had a headache, which was very frequent, I'd just take an Advil or something like that. So all these things start to numb you down, deplete your energy, and it is a chemical warfare. So you get older and older, and you have less and less connection to source energy, less and less until you get to a point where you feel like you need things that you didn't even need, like pharmaceuticals, and you become essentially dependent on the system. And the brainwashing at that point would have gotten you to a point where you've completely forgot who you are, essentially. So looking at children is very good to reset your reference point of what it's like to have energy. If your energy levels are not that of a child, then you're in a compromised state. Let me say this again. If your energy levels from moment to moment, from day to day, are not equivalent to that of a 6-year-old child, then you are in a compromised state of health and well-being. Let me say this a third time, because they say third time is a charm. If you do not have the energy levels of a 6-year-old from moment to moment, from day to day, then you are in a compromised state. You are in an energy depleted state. And I suspect that almost everybody watching this video is in a compromised state. Certainly I am in a compromised state. I do not have the same energy levels that I had when I was 6 years old. When I was 6, I used to go play football outside. I was in a desert. I was in Qatar. I grew up in Qatar. I used to go play outside in a desert at night, not during the day, okay? During the day is way too hot. But at night, in almost 100% humidity, okay? And we're talking 40 degree temperatures, right? I'm talking in the summers, okay? I'm talking 40 degrees temperature and humidity. I used to go play out with the boys 3 hours playing football. 3 hours like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. I'd come home drenched with sweat, and I'd wake up the next day and do it all over. And I'm not the only one like that. If you go back to your own childhood, you'll see how much energy you had. Try to remember when you were 6, 7, 8. Now, this is something I can't do anymore, right? If I go out and play football for an hour, I'm going to be exhausted, probably for the next day or two, okay? So I'm certainly in a compromised state. I'm nowhere near my childlike energy, my child energy as a 6-year-old. And I suspect that almost everybody watching this is in a compromised state. So our job then becomes to work on ourselves every day to return to innocence, to restore our childlike innocence, our childlike energy. If you do not have the energy of a 6-year-old, you've got some work to do on yourself, on healing your physical body, healing your emotional traumas, because all these things block the flow of the energy. You see, a 6-year-old doesn't have all that much emotional traumas, unless, of course, you've gone through some drastic stuff like, child pedophilia, or you got raped or sexually molested, or, severely physically abused or something else. But I'm talking about, most children have not had a significant, like a significant heartbreak, for instance. Like some people, they'll go into the teenage years and they'll have a serious heartbreak, a romantic heartbreak, and that'll just like screw you over for the rest of your life. You've got all these energy blockages now that are blocking the energy from flowing. So at that point, you do not have a 6-year-old, your average 6-year-old does not have the emotional traumas that a 20-year-old has, for example, that has accumulated by then. You do not have the physical traumas yet, although you're already on the path now. You're already getting numbed down with the foods and the pharmaceuticals, but it isn't as severe yet. It's still at the very beginning stages, at the very early stages. And the way the cabal sets up all these things is they don't give you things that will kill you right away. Everything is an accumulative. For instance, bread is a poison, but it destroys your health slowly. Okay, slowly, because if it's too drastic, they want your energy, they want to enslave you, they don't want you dying right away. So the way it works is these things slowly eat away at your health, slowly destroy you. So at 6-year-old, you're already eating these foods, and you're drinking the sodas and eating the bread and all this processed foods, but it's still at the early stages, so you still got a lot of energy despite the shit food that you're eating and despite the pharmaceuticals that you may be taking. So, but everything is at an early stage. The emotional traumas, the physical traumas, the spiritual parasites, all these things, it's still at an early stage, you see? So then, even though you're eating all this shitty food and you're exposed to all these things and you're drinking fluoridated water, you still got a lot of energy, right? That's how strong the connection of a human being is to source energy. Mind you, that you could still be abusing that body at an early age and still have a tremendous amount of energy. But as you grow older, you accumulate emotional traumas, physical toxins, and the body is really good at storing stores the toxins, and then your energy gets depleted and depleted and depleted and depleted and depleted, further and further and further you grow older. So for us, our work becomes to restore our childlike energy. And my reference point for what a healthy human being is, what an high energy, high vibrational human being is a human that, an adult human that has the energy, the vitality, the innocence, the curiosity of a 6-year-old. And if you do not have that, it means there are some things you've got to heal inside your body. So you want to maybe look into fasting, Breatharianism, etc., to get rid of those toxins, some heavy metals, some parasites, etc., etc., etc. You might want to do some emotional cleansing. You might have some resentments to somebody that have hurt you in the past. So you want to practice forgiveness. You want to release all these emotional traumas. There are many ways: catharsis, holotropic breathing, etc. And once you clean up this system again, you must unlearn what you have learned, is what Yoda tells Luke Skywalker. So you're unlearning, you're undoing the programs, you're freeing yourself, you're liberating yourself from the mental prison, also from the brainwashing. Oh, because somebody told you you've got to work 40 hours a week, you've got to do something you don't like, you've got to pay these bills, you've got to have a big house, you've got to have a car, you've got to have all that, right? So you also have to clean up all the mental programs that are also keeping you in a state of enslavement, in a state of need, in a state of dependency. Look around you, look at your house, and look at everything you have, and ask yourself, do I need this? Do I need this? Do I need this? When I started to go into minimalism and I started to get rid of stuff, every time I went through a phase of minimalism where I got rid of some stuff, I felt lighter, I felt better, and this is why I'm able to travel. The reason why I'm able to do this traveling thing so easily, because I barely have any physical possessions. So things like that, as a kid, as a 6-year-old kid, you don't really give a shit what you have or what you own. You're light, you feel free, you just want to play because you got all this energy, because your connection to source is so strong at that point. So, people always say, well, I'm healthy. Well, what's your reference point? Because if you're using society, right, then you may be indeed healthier. You may be in the 1% percentile. You may be in the 1% healthiest people in the world. But that doesn't tell you much. That really does not tell you much at all. Because if you don't have an actual, tangible reference point that's rooted in reality of who you are, then it doesn't matter. You could be healthier than most of the humanity, and still you're, compared to a 6-year-old, you're unhealthy because you do not have the energy of a 6-year-old, right? Think about a 6-year-old. 6-year-old is constantly just high in energy. It doesn't stop, right? They don't get tired. As a kid, as a 6-year-old, I'd only get tired at the end of the day, and then I'd get some sleep, and I'm ready, wake up, ready to go again. Right, the whole day. As a kid, I didn't need to meditate. I didn't need to meditate because the energy is just the energy. It's available. But right now, as adults, we've got to do the meditation until we no longer need it. We're restoring the energy, bringing the energy back into the body, and clearing out the blockages, so that child energy, which we all possessed at some point, can come back on its own spontaneously, and then you've got this abundance of energy, right? So, some of you guys have been watching, I talk a lot about Breatharianism, which is living off the pranic energies. So think of when you reach the Breatharian state, truly, authentically, of not needing physical food or not depending on drugs or anything like that, that's the childlike state. This is why I talk about it so much. It's good to have a healthy reference point. I think it was Bruce Lee that said, something along the lines, I forgot. Don't worry about it, I forgot. But the point is, you can, for instance, shoot for the stars. So at least if you don't reach the stars, you get to the moon. So this is why I talk about Breatharianism, because for me, that's the stars, that's the child, and that's a healthy reference point. You want a healthy reference point. And a healthy reference point is, do I have the energy of my 6-year-old self? There you go. Ask yourself that question, and then take actions based on that. Because if the answer is no, which is no for pretty much everybody watching, because we've all been poisoned living in this socioeconomic matrix, right? Then it's time to do some clearing. Some clearing in the body, some clearing in the mind, some clearing in the emotions. Empty, like I talked about the video, and emptiness. Empty the mind, empty the heart, empty the body, and the energy will come in. Okay, so thank you to all the Patreons. Thank you for all the people who are watching this. I love you guys so much. If you'd like to donate, one-time donations also, right? We do PayPal donations, one-time donations. I'm really getting eaten here by mosquitoes. If you want to do that, if you just want to show your appreciation, you want to donate any amount of money, the links are in the description if you'd like to be a Patreon member as well. I appreciate all the Patreon members. I appreciate the continuous support. I love you guys. Mwah! And I'll see you in the next video.